they cannot create this whole system. The only way it's done is by using something of greater intelligence behind the scenes. That's who's planning it.
What do you mean? What do you think the lower dimension means? I mean, is it just a different kind of stuff that they are made of and that they exist and might even be hard for us to understand? And we just call it's not as spiritually charged as much of a dimension as ours. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, let me address that when we get back. My thoughts on that. Hang on, folks. I was just sharing with you guys my insight that I had several years ago about the all-seeing eye that is two-dimensional, folks, and it's depicted that way on the dollar bill and everywhere else for a reason, and it's because they're of a lower dimension, the Illuminati, or the Nephilim, whatever you want to say, Satan, whatever name you want to tag it, it is of a lower dimension, and that's why it's of two-dimensional depiction wherever you go. And that's why, Jeffrey, you were just asking me to address one aspect of that. Do you recall what it was? It kind of left my mind.
Yeah. What is the difference between these dimensions? Is the other dimension just a different kind of stuff? I mean, what makes it one dimension lower than the other? I mean, we know what makes 1, 2, 3 dimensions different from each other, but what makes their dimension different than our world of nature? Yeah.
It's not exactly what you would expect. They are strictly soul spirit, whichever term you want to use. Let's just call it spirit. They are strictly spirit. They have no substance, and they are in a dimensional prison. They're in this spiritual dimension. But folks, they have a plan, and it's a breakout plan. It's a breakout of jail plan, man. And that's what this is all about, of getting themselves out of that dimension into this dimension. And it's going pretty well for them, I think.
So they're in, okay. What makes them, how do they control this world from the other dimensions? Do the dimensions interact? It's always seemed to me like you need to use pretty weak means to control. It's like controlling information. They can't just manually control our mind in many cases. I mean, so they need TV and universities and churches and stuff to do that. I mean, how do they reach through one dimension into the other, do you think?
Yeah, like in this dimension, that's how they program us, manipulate us, is using television and music and movies and blah, 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 because we're in the third dimension, and that's the manipulation that they use. But in this dimension, to reach people that are aligned with them on this side, let's just say, Bush Sr. as an example. How they communicate is through two means that I have been able to ascertain, and that is one through consciousness, people going into a meditative state and seeking them out. That is one.
Yeah.
The other way is just through ritual. Now, when rituals are done, and I would sure like to get Michael Tessarian to comment on this idea that I'm sharing with you now, is that they are able to then walk in and embody the person that's involved, that has put themselves out front to be walked into. Because this, again, is a spirit, and it's trying to come into this dimension, in a body dimension, but the only way it can is to take over somebody's body here. And it usually isn't for, a real long period of time. And I think blood sacrifices allow that also, not just chanting or rituals and acts like that.
Yeah, on the blood sacrifice, I've had a whole bunch of very staunch Christians. I get attacked by very staunch Christians a lot because they don't like my sort of my Eastern Christian approach, my Buddhist Christian approach. And man, I sure have. They always just start talking about the blood sacrifice. I'm thinking about our show last Thursday, and I was just, looking at that in a different light now when I hear them say that. But yeah, as far as what you're saying with, it's interesting to think. Well, the idea that they're all around, watching, listening to our thoughts. That's, as you know, John, that's the view I have.
And watching. Yeah, and watching.
Yeah, but they seem to not. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
it seems that they don't have that much power. They have to trick us into thinking that we're all a bunch of dopes who've got a huge brain, but we're stupid. We're just a little bit smarter than the monkeys that we supposedly evolved from. So that's such a great trick, and I mean that's not quite what you're talking about with the walk-in, which may have to do with
no. I'm talking about yeah. Here's what I'm getting at is they don't. Okay, I guess if we go wayward into our meditation and we target them, we'll come to them. They'll be attracted to our consciousness and us to them, and then you might be able to see them, communicate with them, all that sort of stuff. So there could be information drawn even to us if you're a good guy. Let's just simplify it. George Bush Sr., bad guy. Jeffrey Grupp, good guy. You both could probably come into communication with them fairly easy, but because you're a good guy, you're not drawn to that dark side, although you did say you experimented with it and you came across it. What these people are yes, these spirits in this lower dimension, what they're interested in is carrying out a plan, a master plan, and communicating that plan to George Bush Sr. or whoever has adopted that power structure. So they are serving this. George Bush is serving this Illuminati behind the veil, this lower dimension. And that's what they're talking about when they say New World Order. On the surface, it is a world government in a three-dimensional space. But what they are also talking about is on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
They want a New World Order. And in that, folks, what they want to rule the world is this entity and all these entities that are there.
Mm-hmm. Well, in a sense, what do you think, though, John? They already do rule the world. I mean, I've said on air on our show in the last 2 weeks that they do now. The world is a concentration camp. We just have been taught to think that the concentration camps were in Nazi Germany. Don't even talk about Stalin in the high school history classes, and in World War II. But I mean, if you look more closely, we're drinking the fluoride now, and I can go. I had all the examples before. So, I mean, aren't they in control now, do you think, already?
See, that's where we separate that's what leads you to believe that they just want this to continue, this control that they have,
exactly.
and continuous war and all that. And that's where we part roads, and it's because my take is that's not the end point. The end point is to step into this reality, this 3D, where we're at, and never, ever leave. We're going to take a break.
The signs are everywhere. What will you do when the store shelves go empty? You need a long-term food solution. We buy in bulk and sell in bulk. We are SurvivalistSeeds.com.